Hey, it's Sam, and I'm making this quick video today because I'm going to talk about actually the most important part of any person's astrological studies or, study of life in general. And it has to do with the way we define something at all. The reason I'm making this video is because I've been seeing a lot of very scared and frightened and, misguided approaches to astrology and what astrology even is lately. And this is really one of the biggest differences that I notice about my approach in regard or in, by comparison to others. So many times I hear people, and when they describe what astrology is, it's this thing that is in many ways kind of scary. Like I hear all of this stuff about don't share your chart with anyone. You got to be really careful sharing your chart because people can see it, and if that's your karma, and if people see it, they can change it and change your karma and do things to you, and all of this like really crazy stuff. I'm sorry, but it is. When I hear this kind of stuff, I know that I'm listening to someone who not only doesn't understand astrology very well, but they don't understand Sanatana Dharma very well. They don't understand yogic principles very well. They don't understand even generally how we can, or what we're doing when we're looking at astrology, like what astrology is. First of all, you have to understand that, I've been sharing my chart for years, and my chart is no secret, and I'll talk about it a little bit even in this video. But the thing is, the appearance of light automatically removes darkness. So when you're bringing light into your life in the form of spiritual practice and daily sadhana and practices that connect you with the light, this is what protects you from all darkness. The only people who come at astrology or at life with this kind of fearful, frightened perspective are people who are in darkness. They're not connected to the light. They are in the dark. Literally, their interpretation of astrology is dark. They are literally in the dark, afraid of things getting them in the dark. Do you understand? When you see astrology as some way to be protected from the things that are going to, get you, from the monster under the bed, to use a metaphor that children would use, then you're going to have this perspective on life. You're going to look at gurus that way. You're going to look at teachers that way. You're going to be scared to share your chart because you are not connected to the light. The way to connect to the light is very easy. You do sadhana and spiritual practices. You actually practice the things that Vedic astrology is telling you to practice. So instead of Vedic astrology being something to help protect you from the monsters under your bed and help you get the stuff you want, help you get the money and get the candy and get the partner and get the things you want, again, this is a very childish perspective, not just of astrology but of life. And I'm sorry to sound pedantic or lecturing here, but I just got to be honest. I'm an honest person. Sometimes my honesty offends some people, but it only offends the people who are guilty of the things I'm talking about. So most people, especially those of you who are neutral and on the fence, are the ones I'm mainly talking to, and those of you who are connected to the light and you're trying to connect to astrology, Vedic astrology, but then you hear all of this scary, crazy stuff about it, and you're like, man, I don't want to bring that into my life. Well, you don't have to. Astrology is called Jyotish, which is the science of light. It's about bringing the light into your life. And light, the appearance of light, dispels darkness. This is the most ancient and beautiful maxim of yoga and Sanatana Dharma and the culture of Vedic astrology and Vedic wisdom. We tend, when we're in the dark, we tend to focus on how many ways can I drive away the darkness? How many dark things might get me? How can I protect myself from all of these dark things? When you're in the dark, that's what you're thinking. When you're in the light, you realize that you can see. So you don't have to worry about every imagined form of darkness or everything hiding in the dark, because now you're in the light. So the appearance of light removes darkness. The appearance of light in itself removes all versions of darkness. And however much you're in the light, your life will flow naturally and gracefully, and you will be protected. It's not even that you'll be protected, you are seeing what's there. Just use the metaphor literally. When it's dark, you can't see. When you turn on the light, you can see. So the appearance of light automatically removes darkness. And Jyotish is the science of light. All of the planets, every one of them, even the bad ones, even Rahu and Ketu, which obscure light at times, are divine principles. And in this video, there's a link below this video or in this video for you to, get a series where I explain this approach to astrology, free videos. You don't have to do anything to get it. And I have templates and stuff to show you how these things work. And first explain to you what Jyotish is, what astrology is. That's why I said at the beginning, the most important facet of your astrology studies or your studies of life revolves around these things. Instead, you may very well likely be focused on some technique or some method or some interpretation about yourself. All that's fine. And if you see yourself in this as this light being, as this being of light and wisdom and that I just described, and you see astrology as the way to unfold that light, then all of those techniques and things that you're gathering can help in that. If you see astrology as some thing you need to be afraid of because it's going to be dark and it's all about you and your chart and avoiding your pain and your darkness, then any technique you're going to learn is going to fit into that dark structure, that dark paradigm. So you need to examine your understanding and your beliefs about what astrology is. So, I told you I would talk about my chart. I'm not afraid to share my chart. I've been sharing my chart for years. It's like every chart is a portrait of the divine wisdom that is permeating consciousness and existence everywhere, and you are a unique, beautiful, divine expression of those planets. It's never happened before exactly the way it's happened with you. Now, I want you to understand something about this whole scary quality of sharing your chart. You want to understand this really clear. When you share your chart, the only people who would try to use it against you or do something like that are not smart enough to know how to do it anyway. I'm sorry, but it's true. And those who are smart enough and intelligent enough and wise enough to read the chart would never use it against you. Because they know, not only because they're afraid of karma, again, people aren't motivated by fear at that level. It's because they see the beauty and the truth of the thing. And they have compassion for the difficulty. And they see the glory. They're mainly in awe of the glory and the beauty. And the difficulty they have compassion for. The only people who would try to use something like that against you or exploit you are not smart enough to even know what they're talking about. Do you know why? Because the Jyotish Vidya the truth of it would never enter their mind. They would be seeing the chart incorrectly, and the things they would say and the things they would do would be wrong. And I'm not just saying this in some new age way. The reason I say this is because in order for the Jyotish Vidya and wisdom to enter your consciousness, you need to have an open heart. You can't be tangled up in fear or your own personal desire. You need to be calm, settled, peaceful, and in a state of love and sattva. And only that state of mind will even give you the Jyotish Vidya, will give you the wisdom. The true wisdom cannot enter a Rajasic or Tamasic mind. Particularly a Tamasic mind of people who would want to hurt you, which is Tamasic, they would never get the right answer because they're not looking at it truthfully. And they would hurt themselves. Again, this is not even opinion. This is stated in every tenet of Sanatana Dharma and of Indian thinking. And the people who propagate these other notions, this is why I said they're just flat out wrong. They don't know what they're talking about, and you should stop being prey or being swayed by astrology teachers or people who get out there and project all of this darkness into a Jyotish, because they're wrong. Negative karma is its own punishment. Nobody can punish you more than you punish yourself. And what I'm saying is that if you think that people can get you in that way, then you're in a state of darkness and you are punishing yourself. Nobody is doing anything to you. No one can. This is what karma is. You are totally doing everything. Okay? So what you need to do is bring light into your life. And Jyotish can help bring the light. Jyotish is the science of the light, the specific vibrations of the light. Bring that into your life and stop worrying about the darkness. Those who are in darkness punish themselves with their ignorance. Okay? When you're angry, you're getting burned up by anger. And if, let's say that I'm angry and I try to dump that anger on you. If you're an angry person by nature, then my anger is going to incite your anger. And it's going to get you angry as well, at least it may. If you're one who is prone to anger, then my anger can instigate your anger. But I didn't cause your anger, because you might be a person who is totally not prone to reacting through anger. And my anger would get dumped on you, and then you would not take it on. Or whatever it is. You can use anger because it's one that we all have to deal with on some level. And in that case, my anger would be burning me. The capacity of my anger to burn you is totally your deal. Because that's your tendency. What I'm saying is you can migrate this into any negative or positive facet of astrology. If I dump my fear and control issues onto you, which is the negative quality of Saturn, I can't punish you for that. If I have that in my mind and I try to use your astrology chart against you because of something that I'm screwed up in, it won't work against you. Because your relationship to anger and fear and manipulation is your strength. Like someone can try, and I'm sure people probably try to do it, try to hurt or manipulate me because they think I say something wrong or whatever, and their anger and fear, maybe they see my chart and they might, try to do something to me. I mean, I have a lot of people see me, but it doesn't affect me. I'm in the light. I'm in the light around these things. So everyone is responsible for their karma, and your negative karma is its own negative, has its own negative connotation. So my Guru Amma says, anger is like stabbing someone with a knife that has two blades. So you cut yourself with it first. You might not even cut the other person, but you always cut yourself with anger. You always hurt yourself with fear. This is Indian Sanatana Dharma, yogic wisdom, spiritual wisdom, Vedanta. And this must be understood, or Vedic astrology will hurt you, not because people are doing stuff, but because of your ignorance. You need to understand what it's all about. And I'm making this video to just reframe this discussion, because I've seen quite a bit now, especially with some of the transits that we've had. We went through these eclipses lately, and we had this Mercury-Mars conjunction going on, and other things happening, and Saturn aspects to Mars and Saturn and Mercury. like I was going to say that like with my chart, I have no problem sharing it. It's Mercury ascendant. I got Sun, Mercury, Venus, Rahu in Gemini in the first house. I got Mars in the third house. I got the Moon in the fifth house. Ketu in the seventh house. Saturn in the eighth house, Capricorn, and Jupiter and Pisces in the 10th house. And when you look at my chart, you can see, my problems and my difficulties. And, if someone wants to try to do something to me or whatever it is, let them try. So when you see the chart, if someone were to run the dashas or whatever, you would see that I started doing, or I would say that I started doing astrology. It really woke up very actively in Mercury Mars Dasha, which is 2000. That's when I started studying really heavily. And then by Mercury Rahu, I was writing my first book. Mercury Jupiter, I started doing it full-time professionally, which was like 2003, 2004. I've been doing it since then professionally. I went into my Ketu Dasha and really started just teaching like crazy. That's when I was hired by famous Indian guru to teach to his school, and then I started my certification programs, and I've gone on. And this was in Ketu Dasha. Again, hear people say Ketu is the worst Dasha. That's just not true. People need to learn how to do astrology correctly. I teach all this in my certification course. And again, you should get some lessons from someone who has been doing this and teaching for almost 15 years, well, 10 to 15 years, I don't want to exaggerate, but I started doing my first classes. Teaching my first classes actually 2004. So it's been about 10, 11 years. Hundreds of thousands of students, hundreds of graduates. And so when you have to be careful who you listen to. Okay, if you want to be careful about something, be careful who you listen to. Be careful who you give your attention to. And there are a lot of people online who are entertaining and they seem like they know a lot about astrology and they're fun to listen to. But be careful with how much of your real estate and your consciousness that you give away to their personal opinions. Aside from something they might know about astrology, or they've looked at this thing and they're saying something that might be true, be careful about adopting their philosophy of astrology or their philosophy of life. I'm telling you to be careful, okay? Because it's great that astrology is, getting more and more, recognized, but there's a lot of, especially philosophically, bad teaching out there these days, for sure, where people are bringing a lot of their immature notions about Sanatana Dharma and yoga and what astrology really is, and just spreading them everywhere. I was just at a conference, and not necessarily from the teachers, but from so many of the students, they're like, I heard this, and what do you think about that? And just, this is not correct. Jyotish is the science of light. And especially when you have a guru, a Sat Guru, and you learn astrology properly from someone who's been doing it for a long time. I started doing astrology when I was 18, or 18, 19 years old, when I started doing Indian practices, Indian metaphysical, mystical practices, meditation and mantras, and aligning with the teachings, the true teachings that are higher than the astrology. Understanding those principles of life and Sanatana Dharma and meditation and why you're here and the meaning of existence and the relationship of dark to light, these are much more important for your life than learning astrology as a way to try to figure it out and protect you from the darkness, from the things you're afraid of. When you're looking at astrology this way, you're just spinning your wheels. When you look at astrology as the specifics of the divine creation that you embody, it's a whole different frame. Everything becomes a divine emanation. And when you're listening to people who are affirming these negative qualities because of things they haven't worked through yet, because of their opinion about this, you got to be real careful. So I'm making this video for those who really love astrology, and they come to it because there's a sense of joy and light and thing they want to grow, and they're maybe a little bit concerned or a little bit worried about some negativities about sharing your chart, or, I better be careful. The most important part of astrology is what you think it is. So I invite you to also get more information about that, I have videos, free videos. I don't post everything on YouTube or Facebook. This is one part of what I do. I have my students who actually get involved with what I do. I have a lot of free video series and stuff that I, send you email and send you a link to it. It's also related to my certification course and things like that. So I really encourage you to get a good education. I mean, it's free. I'll send you a bunch of free videos that explains what astrology really is, how to really use it, how to really understand and frame your life as a divine creature, as a divine emanation, rather than all this fearful stuff that might have you a little bit worried. So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and have a great day.